In this video, we're going to briefly go through the impact of a production quota on the markets. So a production quota is just a law where the government says it is illegal to produce more than a certain quantity of this good. This is sometimes achieved by governments looking at all the production figures for the previous year and telling all of the producers that they must cut back by 10% or 20%. In this case, we're going to make it much simpler. First, let's just look and see what the equilibrium price and quantity are going to be for this supply and demand curve. The equilibrium right here is at a price of $14 and a quantity of 6 units. Maybe it's 6,000 or 6 million units in the real world. So a production quota we could represent with a vertical line like this. And if the production quota were set to anything at 6,000 units or above, this quota would not have any impact at all on the market. Once the quota starts to be less than 6,000 units, it becomes effective, just meaning that it's going to have some kind of effect on the market. So let's suppose this production quota was, say, at 3,000 units here. We're not going to be able to get to that equilibrium quantity of 6. The most important thing to understand when there's a production quota is what happens to the price. And most of the time, students will hone in on these two options. They'll say, well, here's a point where that quota of 3 intersects the supply curve. And then here's another point up here where that quota of 3 intersects the demand curve. And the price could be maybe $17 per unit if we look at the top point, or $8 per unit if we look at the bottom point. To make sense of which of these is the right one, answer this question for yourself. When a good gets scarcer, when there's a more and more limited quantity that people can buy, what do you think would happen to the price? Do you think that the price would go down when something's harder to get, or the price would go up? If you answered that the price should always go up, then you're correct. And this corresponds to what we see in the real world. Imagine there's a concert that has sold out and they set the price appropriately at $14. And then all of a sudden, the government says, nope, we're not going to allow 6,000 people in that stadium. We have to cancel all the tickets and resell the tickets. And you're only allowed to sell 3,000 tickets now. What do you think would happen to the price at which these tickets would sell? It's probably going to go up, not down. Makes sense. So in this case, the simple effect we would say of having a quota of 3 would be that the price is going to rise to $17 instead of $14. And you can see that as this quota gets lower and lower and lower, that the price in the market is going to get higher and higher. Again, if you ever had a question where the quota was set higher than the equilibrium quantity, you would say this quota will have no effect. It's an ineffective quota. And as the quota gets smaller and smaller, the price is going to go higher and higher. And of course, this quota will push the quantity down as well.